2018, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison by an algorithm for the crime they didn't commit. These producers promptly escaped from maximum security social media stockade to the internet underground. Today, still wanted by social media, they survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the Smash team.
So here we are looking at the sun, 193 angstroms. We see a large equatorial coronal hole swinging into the Earth-facing region right now. And if you weren't aware, Google is a scam. We also saw a fireball. We're going to cover that. Let's look at the sun in 304 angstroms, our local yellow dwarf. This is 7.5 hours of activity, folks, as an active plage rises over the east. You see a little filamentary activity out there. Otherwise, very low solar output. Solar wind looking pretty low also. So let's have a look. Here's a real-time solar wind. And we see the phi angle looks like we're in the process of magnetically connecting to that coronal hole right now. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see a 180-degree phi angle develop here, as that coronal hole is very large, very defined, and right on the equator. In fact, straddling the equator. It's going to be right in your front yard, folks, as it is becoming part of the magnetic environment in which you live. Solar wind density 1.71 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 343 kilometers per second. Here's a location of things like planets. If you weren't aware, stereo A is out here, viewing solar activity first, which is why it's called stereo A. Here's where things will be in 1 week. Just a day or so after new moon. Let's have a look from stereo A. This is the extreme UV ionized iron camera, 195 angstroms. Not a lot to see out there. Look at magnetosphere movies as we do most days. We'll look at the density and the pressure. If I can click things. Four hours of data here provided by University of Michigan Geospace Model. And here's the pressure. Next, we're going to look at the ground geospace magnetic perturbations a little closer to home. For all you geomagnetic pole excursion enthusiasts. Again, 4 hours of data, University of Michigan Geospace Model. We're looking at changes in the Earth's B field here, otherwise known as geospace delta B. Let's talk about the smAsho mission. There are links to it in the description as we are continuing to build the site and build the channel. So click the links in the description below the video and check it out. If you weren't aware, Google's a scam, not a verb. So follow us on Patreon. We only have one tier. It's $1 a month. So why not join up? Is your wallet full of moths? Check out patreon.com/smAsho. Some of the posts are even public, and since every little bit counts, folks, we are challenging Google Analytics on a daily basis, let's say. And since Google pays us nothing for this YouTube channel, and that's, again, I repeat, nothing. If you're watching commercials, we're not getting paid for it, but Google is. So please support the channel directly via the links in the description, such as the Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. Again, links in the description to that. The Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, thanks to those folks who've been buying CBD products and helping to keep us afloat. Also, check out theveloshop.net, official bike shop of the Lehigh Valley Velodrome. Support your local bike shop, or better yet, support our local bike shop, as we are a world-class cycling team. And give Becky a call. Ask her. Ask Alan Schaefer technical questions, trying to figure out how tight to tighten that torque on your carbon fiber seat post. Alan probably knows from memory. theveloshop.net. Also, original music in the links below this video on SoundClick, as well as SoundCloud for some older, weirder stuff. Keep in mind, there's a whole lot of music that's never been released, folks. So if you're interested in purchasing any for your next project, send me an email, smashomash@gmail.com. Or if you want to send me photographs of Yeti, check out spaceweather.com, where they're explaining noctilucent clouds. Again, here's a great diagram so you can explain it to your friends if they don't understand it. 10.7 centimeter radial flux back up to 68. Still higher than predicted values, still at solar minimum. Welcome to the solar minimum and the neo-renaissance, as physics and indeed astrophysics gets rewritten. Check out the GOES X-ray flux, which is utterly flatlined. Electron flux is looking totally normal here for you new viewers out there, and thanks for subscribing. The N's and M's are noon and midnight time for the satellite. So for instance, a red N indicates noontime for the GOES 14. Does that make sense? GOES magnetometer is looking pretty smooth here. And we'll look at the magnetic environment right after this. Going to look at the LASCO C3 as Venus continues to swing around to the far side of the sun. As it gets closer and closer, it should appear on the C2 also. And once it's there, we'll cover it there too. We're going to look at the last 6 hours of the ionosphere. This is the measured at the F flare, folks. It's the last 6 hours. It gives you a great indication of what happens at the South Atlantic anomaly. And we've been only showing this in still frame up until today. You can see the way that low frequency area over northern South America and the South Atlantic near South America tends to fluctuate and be anomalous. That's why we call it the South Atlantic anomaly. If you're not familiar with it, just look up South Atlantic anomaly. It's commonly understood to exist. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. There are lots of theories out there. Nobody really fully understands why the South Atlantic anomaly exists. Let's look at the Gong 2 as we're looking back at the sun now from the top view ecliptic plane field plot. We see continued striations. When you see a bunched up bit of plasma out here, see this red plasma here? This is a South Pole oriented portion of the current sheet. When you see suspended plasma like that, that means that there are some strong fields behind it. So we are seeing some activity rise now. We'll look at the colored magnetometer at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that, as there's a big plage on the equator right behind that coronal hole. So anyway, there's the Gong 2 data. Keep in mind, this is 1 hour and 44 minutes old. And magnetic phenomenon are prone to change with absolutely no warning, which is probably not good news. I'm not thrilled to inform you of that, but nonetheless, check out yesterday's sunrise on Instagram. If you follow me there, instagram.com/smAsho. Have to mute that as that's pretty loud. Anyway, I have a series. Follow the hashtag #SideViewSunrise on Instagram, and perhaps you'll see videos like this. It was quite cold yesterday morning. Even got temperatures in the mid 60s, I think down to 64 in some spots. You're going to see global warming articles everywhere for the next couple of weeks, as the last week in July and the first 2 weeks of August are typically the hottest weeks of the year, at least in this portion of North America. Anyway, there's yesterday's sunrise. Don't say I never gave you nothing. Also, we're on some other social media there, a whole bunch of different social media sites. Feces Book, that's FACEBOOK.com/smAshomash. Feces Book, the social media that will absolutely censor you. Depending on what you say, it will lump you into a category and completely screw with your feed. Also, we're on Twitter. If it makes it easier for you to share our videos there, please do. As we know, some folks only use Twitter as social media. Also on Gab. We're trying to use that a little bit more. And yeah, gab.com/smashomash. Also on minds.com/smashomash. That's minds.com/smashomash. The future of social media, as we like to present solutions to problems on this channel and not just whine and complain and whinge about the state of affairs on the internet these days. Help us get to 500,000 views. Minds.com/smashomash. The open source social media that will not ban you. It will not even censor you. And we post lots of stuff there. So check it out. Also, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe on YouTube, as our primary content is still on YouTube. So despite Google being a scam, we pretty much talk about how Google is a scam nearly every day. And thanks for tuning in, the folks who have. And if you're watching this video later, we appreciate that too. Let's do a earthquake rundown here, as California continues to get struck with thousands of quakes near the China Lake Naval Weapons Test Facility. Here's a 4.7 in Guadalupe. Huh? Guadalupe. Is that a country? Please leave a comment if you're aware whether Guadalupe is a country. Anyway, one of the larger quakes we've seen in the Caribbean. 4.7. Out there at Guadalupe. Okay. That's a new one on me. Here's a 4.9. Looks pretty close to New Zealand. Oh, it looks like there's been an uptick in quakes at New Zealand. Check it out. This one coming in quite a while ago, about 20 hours ago or so. Here's the location of this. Located in that series of rifts northeast of New Zealand's North Island. There's a larger quake there, a 5.0. All right, let's get back to this, as we don't want to spend all day talking about earthquakes. Now, earthquakes freak me out, folks. I've been in several, and I've never felt one, which makes it seem even weirder. Makes me want to go on vacation to California right now so I can feel one and check a box. Check a bucket list box. I felt an earthquake. Okay, where the hell were we here? Let's see. Tonga. Here's a 5.0 at Tonga. Largest quake there for a while. 4.8 at New Zealand, none of these at depth, although this one here at Fiji is at 537 kilometers. Heads up as that coronal hole moves into the Earth-facing zone. That's an earthquake uptick risk, folks. So, especially in Western South America, as well as every place in Oceania, basically everywhere north and east of Australia. Be on alert for a large quake, because that's a large coronal hole, and it's going to be an ongoing magnetic connection. Let's move on. How about a 5.0 in the Chagos Archipelago region? Haven't seen a quake there, and I'm not sure if I ever saw a quake there. Let's take a look at that location. Looks like some kind of a ocean floor feature going on there. Not that familiar with the geography. Please leave a comment if you are. That one south of India, near the border of the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean, folks. Hopefully that was not a depth charge dropped by an Iranian oil scavenging vessel. All right, here's a 4.3 at Indonesia, this one at depth. Heads up for a larger quake there. 4.5 at Japan. 4.7 at California. Largest quake we've seen there for a while, as they get hit with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of quakes. Here's a 4.3 at Chile, a 4.3 at Italy. Please leave a comment if you felt that quake. Shout out Italian viewers. View today's Tour de France stage. I can tell you, Elia Viviani's not going to win. And lastly, we see a 4.2 at Taiwan. And oh, this one just coming in while I did show prep. Check it out. A quake at 400 meters above sea level at Hawaii. Let's check the location of that one. Shout out. That one is right underneath a caldera. Check it out. The Halemaumau caldera, right underneath it. That quake at 400 meters above sea level, folks. The depth, negative 0.4 kilometers. Magmatic motion going on at Hawaii, most assuredly. Let's move on to more stuff. Here's a jet stream. Northern jet. Barely looks like a jet, as the northern hemisphere is still governed by convective forces. There's all kinds of stuff moving the wrong direction here as we look down the North Pole view. Here's the North America view. And that's not even meridional jet stream flow. That's just not a jet stream. Shout out if you're a pilot. We do have a great jet stream going across the North Atlantic. Southern jet, looking like a jet, pretty meridional flow. We see some double and triple jets here. Here's a double. Here's a double with a low in between it. And if you've ever looked at this from high altitude, here's what it looks like from 100,000 feet. As we have a triangular low pressure system over Antarctica. And there's the rotation of the northern hemisphere upper level. There's the jet. That's a jet stream at flight level 25,000. Look a little different. All right. Let's talk about this a little more here. As Donald Scott, shout out Donald Scott, did a video about Greenland Currents going through your planet. And here's him talking about this a little bit. Let's play a clip.
Incidentally, at figure 1, the strong currents are something well over 300, 350 kilometers per hour. That's moving. The weak currents are more like 50 kilometers per hour.
Anyway, we have links to this video in the description also. Please watch it if you don't understand atmospheric physics. If you think mankind runs the planet's weather, and if you think geoengineering is a thing that's capable at large scales by the human race. We'll try not to laugh too hard. Here's the pressure maps on windy.com. Check out their mobile app also, that's windy.com. And if you see anomalous low pressure zones moving in directions such as east to west instead of west to east, well, that's anomalous. And if you're in an earthquake prone zone, especially where you've been seeing deep earthquakes, I would be on extra high alert. Please have an earthquake plan. Have a bug out bag. Have something. Have some idea of which buildings may crumble if they start to crumble and you try to flee to the streets, especially in city locations. Anyway, there's about a day and a half of pressure map animation. This is probably the GFS model, although I'm not fully sure here. Courtesy windy.com. Let's head to AccuWeather.com. Here's the US Doppler radar. We see a crazy convergence zone over Minnesota there, causing some lightning and some heavy storms over a very limited area. If you hear thunder over your head, check out lightningmaps.org. Here's the situation from the water vapor map perspective. Some odd weather over Arizona and New Mexico especially, as we see a bunch of moisture up there rotating clockwise instead of counterclockwise. As in the northern hemisphere, folks, low pressure systems typically rotate counterclockwise. Anyway, that anticyclonic system there over especially Arizona and New Mexico. Volcano Rundown, explosive activity continues at Karimsky as it produces a 15,000-foot ash plume. Please do not do a back handspring over Karimsky. Sanjang Api in Indonesia, producing an 8,000-foot ash plume. Tokono, 7,000-foot ash plume there via some explosive activity. Please don't pole vault Tokono. Popocatépetl. Satellite detected volcanic ash. Revenador exploding, producing a 14,000-foot plume. And Sabancaya, the star of the day, producing a 25,000-foot ash plume and explosive activity. Please do not do the Fosbury flop over Sabancaya. Now that we've done that, we've moved on to the That's an Ass and That's a Hole in the Ground section, where we further enrich the density of these videos. Let's talk about a Sun Tzu quote, author of The Art of War. Know thyself, know thy enemy. Understand how that works? Anyway, if you haven't read The Art of War, an ancient text by Sun Tzu about all kinds of philosophy, why not have yourself a read? Why are we talking about this? Because of Google.
Google
is not a verb because the definition needs to be amended. You see, the current definition, according to Merriam-Webster, that's m-w.com if you want to check it out, is to use the Google search engine to obtain information about someone or something on the World Wide Web. What they need to do is place the word biased in between the word obtain and information. Because if they put the word biased right here to use the Google search engine to obtain biased information about someone or something on the World Wide Web, that would be accurate. But sadly, Merriam-Webster's got this one wrong. And so, in light of calling them like I see them, Merriam-Webster, please fix the definition. As everybody knows, Google search results return biased information. It's been known far and wide since the 2016 US presidential election. If you weren't aware, please understand that Google is a scam and not a verb. Now, big tech's trying to break the internet. And dear big tech, We have your number. We know where you work. We know where you live. You can't break the internet, but the internet can break you. And that's especially Google and Facebook. Forged court papers are being used to force negative stories off of Google results. Yeah, that's right. Companies are gaming Google's algorithms, and Google is complicit in even more fraud. Congratulations. And a little bit more fraud there, Google. Well done. Links to this article also in the description. Talk about using Google as a verb. The first recorded use of Google as a verb was from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a show that I love. However, not a fan of Google. Now, Google's not a person, Google's a company. I don't go around trying to destroy people, but I might have to go around trying to destroy Google. Google, comma, don't make me stomp on you, period. Transcribe that, period. Fix your BS, or the internet's going to fix you. Now, Google sent a cease and desist letter to Paul McFedries, creator of WordSpy, a website that tracks neologisms. You see, Google doesn't want you using Google as a verb either because they're so worried. Google's so worried about Google, that Google can't get out of Google's own way. Have you ever heard of a company that's too big to fail? Google is a company that's too big to exist. Let's get a little closer to home. Lehigh Valley Live reporting yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 Jersey Shore beaches closed due to unsafe bacterial levels. Enterococci bacteria closing down some beaches around Barnegat Light up to Long Beach or something. Anyway, links to that article in the description also. Fireball streaks across giant portion of East Coast last night. Here's somebody's Twitter video. Links to the article in the description. Check it out. Major fireball witnessed all the way from eastern Canada down to, I think, Virginia or so. Let's see if we can see any other videos of this one. Anyway, there's a location. Somebody set up a nice map here. I like this. Well done. Anyway, there's the locations of the reports. It looks like it's seen from Maine down to North Carolina. So that's the expected trajectory of that fireball. Expected to have dropped some meteors. Here's a motion sensing camera view of it. Looks like the same view. Whoops. I pressed the wrong button, folks. Don't sue me, folks. Sue Google. It's probably their fault. Just seen that article indicating that it probably rained meteorites. Please leave a comment if you collected a meteorite. I know of a giant one that I want to grab from somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's legit. I just have to get a friend with a pickup truck to head out there with me. If it's a real one, it's probably worth about $200,000. No, I won't be telling you where it is. Anyway, links to this article also in the description below the video. So when you're clicking down there to find the Patreon page and go buy some CBDs, by the way, thanks to those folks who have bought CBDs. Smart plan. And we're on to Reuters, where 16 U.S. Marines arrested on suspicion of human trafficking, not to mention drug offenses. Anyway, they've been allegedly transporting aliens for financial gain across the U.S.-Mexico border. The Marine Corps said that in addition to the Marines arrested on Thursday, 8 others were detained for questioning on unrelated alleged drug offenses. So probably just a little bit of drug smuggling and human trafficking at the U.S.-Mexico border. No big deal. Anyway, thanks to everybody who's been leaving comments. We appreciate it. And I'm going to get to them in one moment. First, I'm going to bring up the colored magnetogram. We're going to look at the last 7 hours or so as an active plage rises up behind that coronal hole. So there's that situation. A lot of magnetic activity going on there. So that's something to watch. I'll zoom in on that since it's on the left side. It's perfect. That rising area there, it's really a giant plage, and that's made an entire rotation around the sun if you weren't aware. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining and leaving comments. smAsho staff and Harry and Mr. Keebler. And Eden will do. Cheers. Harry seems to think the fireball was a Chinese satellite. And for that, at that, we laugh. Anyway, it's about time to close this thing out. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please visit the links in the description. Support the channel if possible. Please press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Press the notification bell. You may see these live streams when they occur. Thanks if you viewed the video not in the live format, as it'll be relevant all day. Remember, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink. If you drink, stare at the sun anyway. Just don't drive. Make sure you use the proper instruments, like a solar filter or perhaps the SDO. Major magnetic areas behind that coronal hole, folks. So there should be some slight upticks in activity. Again, 10.7 centimeter radial flux back up to 68. So solar minimum continues. Know thy enemy. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.